My social climbing fiancé, Travis, ran off to chase a rich heiress, leaving his bedridden father behind. His greedy uncle, Barnaby, brought a group of men and dumped the old man right at my doorstep. He knelt there, trying to guilt-trip me in front of the neighbors. "You're his daughter-in-law, you have to take care of him." In my past life, I was forced into that mess and wasted 10 years of my youth serving that old man. As soon as he got better, Travis returned in glory with his flashy mistress and a son. He turned around and accused me of abusing his father and keeping them apart. Even the old man, who I had nursed back to health, framed me by claiming I stole his pension and starved him. Desperate and broken, I jumped from the rooftop. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Travis disappeared. A loud, violent banging at my door made me jump. In my last life, this was the exact moment it started. Barnaby had brought Travis's cousins to make a scene, waking up the entire apartment complex. He had dumped the old man at my door, acting all righteous as he told me it was my responsibility. Later, I found out Travis had eloped with a sugar mommy, but seeing everyone else abandon the old man, I listened to his pathetic pleas and took on the heavy burden. I spent the rest of my life hating myself for that moment of weakness. Now, hearing the noise, I rushed to the door and swung it open to see Barnaby's greasy, hypocritical face. "Lydia, you're Travis's wife. Abandoning the elderly is a crime." The neighbors were already peeking out, eager for some drama. The rage I had accumulated over 2 lifetimes exploded. I grabbed the heavy boot by the door and slammed it right into his face. "You shameless piece of trash. How dare you try to scam me? I'm a single woman. I haven't even married into your family yet. Where's my husband? Where did he die? If I'm married, show me the license. Open your damn eyes. Why should a single woman like me take care of your paralyzed relative?" I moved so fast that Barnaby started howling. His glasses flew off as I kept swinging. My neighbor, Mrs. Miller, was the first to react. "Lydia is right. If they were married, we would have been invited to the wedding. Dumping a sick man on her? That's disgusting." "Exactly. They aren't even married. She's not his wife. This family is shameless. They're just bullying a young woman." The crowd's murmurs made Barnaby panic, and he barked back. "They were engaged. The old man recognizes her. Travis isn't here, so it's her job." I put my hands on my hips and yelled, "You're the one abandoning him. You brought him here to blackmail me. I'm calling the cops." As soon as he heard the word police, Barnaby's face went pale. I won't hold this against you," he stuttered, trying to leave. I grabbed his greasy collar. "Well, I'm holding it against you." I dialed 911 immediately. "Hello. There's a group of men breaking into my property. They are trying to abandon a sick man and extort me. The old man looks critical. I think they've been abusing him." "You're lying," Barnaby screamed, struggling to break free. I held on tight and screamed into the phone. "Officer, the suspect is resisting. The victim is unstable. Hurry. I think they're a professional gang that targets single women." God gave me a second chance, and I wasn't going to waste it. Every bit of misery I suffered in my past life was coming out now. The sirens wailed in the distance. When the police arrived, they saw Barnaby with a shoe print on his face and the old man moaning on a stretcher. I stood there in my loungewear, looking furious and shaken. "Officer, she hit me. She's lying." Barnaby tried to complain first. "Officer," I interrupted, my voice calm but trembling with fake grief. "This man and his goons forced their way here and dumped this man at my door. He tried to use a fake engagement to force me to take him in. He threatened to ruin my reputation if I didn't comply. This is pure extortion." The officer frowned and looked at Barnaby. "What is your relationship to this man? And to the caller?" Barnaby was sweating bullets. I'm his uncle. Lydia is my nephew's fiancé. The old man has no one, so we thought." "Thought what?" I snapped. "Engagement means nothing in the eyes of the law. Where is Travis? Where is his mother? Are they dead? Why should an outsider, an ex-fiancé abandoned by your son, be responsible for this?" Barnaby stammered. "His mother is in poor health." I crossed my arms. "So you dumped the baggage on me? You think I'm some kind of idiot?" Just then Travis's mother, Mrs. Turner, appeared. She saw the police and tried her usual trick of rushing toward me to cry, "Lydia, sweetie. Stop right there." I barked, stepping back. "Mrs. Turner, I have nothing to do with your family, especially not your scumbag son. Don't you dare touch me." "Officer." I turned to the police. "You see this? They want to dump their responsibilities on a stranger. This is abandonment. Their actions have caused me severe emotional distress. I want a public apology, or I will be filing a civil lawsuit." Mrs. Turner was speechless. Barnaby's face turned from green to white as he pointed at her. "I'm done with this. Keep your husband. Go find your son who ran off with that rich girl. If you hadn't told me Lydia was a pushover, I wouldn't have helped you." The crowd gasped. Now everyone knew Travis had cheated and abandoned his own father. "Lydia, how can you be so cruel? The old man loved you." Mrs. Turner tried to play the emotional card. Loved me. I laughed like I'd heard the funniest joke in the world. He loved me so much that he let his son steal all our savings and run away. He loved me so much that he let you all dump him on my doorstep the second his son vanished. That's not love. That's using me until I'm dead. I turned to the neighbors and the police, my voice loud and clear. Listen to this. I was only engaged to Travis. We aren't married. He broke my heart and stole the money we saved for a house to run away with a rich woman. Now, instead of finding the son, the family tries to kidnap my life? They want me to be a free nurse for a paralyzed man? Who does that? The crowd was fully on my side now. That's sick. This poor girl. Exactly. They aren't even married. Why should she care for him? This family is rotten. The son is a dog and the parents are no better. Arrest them for abandonment. Barnaby jumped up in a panic. It wasn't my idea. I just helped move him. I even have Travis's old phone right here. He pulled out a phone and I recognized it immediately. Mrs. Turner froze. This was the final nail in the coffin. It proved Travis had planned to dump the responsibility on me. The neighbors started gossiping loudly. Travis seemed like such a nice guy. What a monster. You never know with these people. Always dressing up while plotting behind your back. He's probably a professional gold digger. Who knows how many women he's scammed? Shut up. My son is a good man. Mrs. Turner screamed, losing her mind. If you keep lying, I'll rip your mouth open. Barnaby sneered at her. Please. Travis told me to put the old man here. He said once he settled in with the rich girl, he'd build me a house. Officer, I even have a note written by Travis himself. He pulled a small piece of paper from his phone case. In my last life, this note never appeared. In fact, Barnaby had helped Travis frame me back then. They were all snakes. Barnaby spat on the ground. I should have known this would be bad luck. Barnaby, you traitor. Mrs. Turner screamed and lunged at him, clawing at his face. The note is fake. You're trying to ruin my son. I'll kill you. Barnaby scrambled behind the police. See? She's crazy. I'm telling the truth. Take them in, the officer said, having heard enough. I watched coldly as they were shoved into the police car. The ambulance took the old man away. I immediately went inside and started packing my bags. I wasn't staying in this place for another minute. As I dragged my suitcase out, the neighbors gathered around. Lydia, are you moving? Yes. I need to get away from these toxic people before they try something else. If they keep dragging my name through the mud, I'll never be able to move on with my life. The neighbors nodded in support. You're doing the right thing, honey. Go and live your life. Poor girl. Travis really is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I didn't care what they said anymore. I just wanted to disappear. By the time the Turners got out of the police station, I was already in a new apartment near my office. A few hours later, my phone rang. It was Mrs. Turner. Lydia. Where the hell are you? She shrieked. I could hear the hospital intercom in the background. I moved, I said calmly. How could you move? What about your father-in-law? It was obvious they were looking for a free servant at the hospital. They probably wanted me to pay the bills too. Mrs. Turner, he is not my father-in-law. We have no relation. You should focus on finding your son to pay the bills. I have to work. Goodbye. I hung up and went back to my routine. My colleague Joanne leaned over my desk. Lydia, are you single now? Want me to set you up? In my past life, I would have been too insecure to say yes. But now? I gave her a bright smile. Sure, Joanne. I trust your taste. My cousin is a captain in the fire department. He's a hero, and he's only 2 years older than you. Dinner tonight. I agreed instantly. Joanne was thrilled and made the call right away. In my previous life, Joanne saw how exhausted I was and tried to help me, but I was too stubborn. I had been so afraid of the old man being mistreated that I sacrificed my own happiness. I was such a fool. I met Logan for dinner, and we hit it off immediately. He was steady, kind, and handsome. We kept in touch. When Joanne asked how it went, I nodded. He's great. Let's see where it goes. She was over the moon. He's a good man, Lydia. He'll treat you right. I felt a blush creep up my face. Logan and I started dating. For 2 months, the Turners didn't bother me. But then Mrs. Turner showed up at my office. I was at my desk when the receptionist called. Lydia, you need to come down. An old lady is here with a man in a wheelchair. She's making a huge scene in the lobby, claiming he's your father-in-law. People are staring. My heart hammered in my chest. Father-in-law? I'm not married. She's a stranger. I made sure my voice was loud enough for the whole office to hear. The receptionist sounded stressed. I don't know, just get down here. When I hung up, everyone was looking at me. Lydia, what's going on? I have no idea. Some crazy woman is trying to dump a sick man on me at my workplace. Joanne stood up. That's insane. I'm coming with you. Yeah, this sounds like harassment. Another coworker added. I played the confused victim perfectly. When we got to the lobby, It was a mess. Mrs. Turner was wailing on the floor. Beside her, the old man was curled up in a wheelchair, covered in a filthy blanket. His face was gray, and his lips were turning blue. "You monster! He's dying and you won't even look at him," she screamed when she saw me. The crowd gasped. "I've just started dating someone. I don't have a father-in-law," I shouted, my voice echoing. I pointed at the old man. "Look at him. He can barely breathe. Why aren't you taking him to a hospital? You're trying to kill him just to frame me." I think she's part of a scamming ring that targets professional women. The lobby erupted in whispers. Someone called 911 again. My God. His face is purple. This woman is evil. Call an ambulance. He's going to die right here. Mrs. Turner panicked as the accusations of murder and scamming flew at her. The paramedics arrived and pushed her aside. "Get back. He needs oxygen now." The police escorted Mrs. Turner to their cruiser, while the old man was rushed to the ER. I asked the officer quietly, "What happens to him now?" "If the family won't pay, the state will place him in a nursing home and bill the relatives." I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. This time, that family would never touch a cent of my money again. The incident in the corporate lobby was the final straw. By that afternoon, the security footage from our building had already circulated among building management and local community forums. The clip was crystal clear. Mrs. Turner dragging an oxygen-deprived, half-conscious old man across polished tile, howling theatrical insults while refusing to let the building's first aid team touch him until I showed up. It didn't take an attorney to see what she was doing. She wasn't a desperate caregiver looking for help. She was a predator staging an extortion scene. Joanne stood beside my desk with a cup of chamomile tea. My cousin Logan called the precinct on his break. The officer on duty told him Mrs. Turner is being held for 48 hours on endangerment and public disturbance charges. The Elder Abuse Division is opening an official case. Good, I said, my fingers flying across my keyboard as I printed out every bank transfer receipt, text log, and photo from the past 4 years. I'm filing a permanent protective order, not just against her, but against Barnaby and Travis too. "You want me to ask Logan to come with you to the courthouse?" Joanne asked her, eyes warm with support. "He's off duty at 4. He knows how the system works. With civil harassment filings." "I don't want to drag him into my mess," I hesitated. "Lydia." Joanne rested a hand on my shoulder. "Logan isn't the type of man who runs from trouble. Trust me on this. Let a good man show you what real support looks like." At 4:15 p.m., Logan's silver pickup truck pulled up to the curb outside my office. He stepped out wearing dark jeans and a navy Henley, his broad shoulders and steady stride a stark contrast to Travis's flashy, hurried arrogance. When his amber brown eyes found mine, the knot of tension that had lived in the base of my neck for 2 lifetimes softened just a fraction. "Hey," he said, opening the passenger door for me. "You held up okay today?" "I survived," I said, sliding into the seat. "I'm sorry you have to deal with the fallout of my terrible past choices." Logan put the truck in gear and glanced at me with an easy, reassuring smile. "You didn't choose to be scammed, Lydia. You chose to be a decent person and a pack of leeches tried to bleed you for it. There's no shame in that. Now let's go make sure they never step within 500 feet of you again." At the county courthouse, the magistrate took one look at the police report from the lobby, the earlier disturbance at my old apartment, and the signed note from Travis that Barnaby had inadvertently handed over to the police. The emergency protective order was granted in less than 20 minutes. As we walked down the stone steps into the crisp evening air, Logan turned to me, his hands shoved casually into his jacket pockets. "Have you had dinner yet?" "Not since breakfast. There's a quiet little Italian place by the waterfront. No crowds, no drama. Just homemade pasta and decent wine. What do you say?" Looking at him, his steady gaze, the clean scent of cedarwood and autumn air surrounding him, I smiled. For the first time in years, it wasn't a defensive smile or a polite mask. It was genuine. I'd love that. While my life was slowly putting itself back together, the Turner family was tearing itself apart at the seams. With Mrs. Turner detained and the old man officially admitted as a ward of the county under protective custody, the financial reality of their situation hit them like a freight train. In my previous life, I had shouldered every single expense in secret. I had spent $800 a month on adult diapers, special pureed foods, physical therapy bands, and skin ointments. When the old man developed pressure sores, I was the one who woke up every 2 hours through the night to turn his heavy limp body. I had drained my savings to pay for his daily oxygen tanks and home nursing visits. Now all of that fell squarely on the state's billing department, and the state does not work for free. Under state filial responsibility laws, when an elderly parent is placed in state-funded medical care due to abandonment, The Department of Social Services immediately tracks down all first-degree relatives to recover costs. And the first relative they audited was Barnaby. 2 weeks after the lobby incident, Joanne ran into our department break room, practically vibrating with excitement. "You won't believe what happened at the county clerk's office," she laughed, leaning over the counter. "My friend who works in public records said Barnaby Turner had his wages garnished yesterday. The state slapped a tax lien on his used car lot for $30,000 to cover back medical debt and emergency transport fees." I took a slow sip of my coffee, feeling a deep, dark satisfaction settle into my bones. "What about Mrs. Turner?" I asked. "Oh, it gets better," Joanne smirked. "She tried to claim she was indigent, so the state investigator pulled her bank accounts. Turns out she had $40,000 hidden in a high-yield certificate of deposit that she was saving for Travis's future business ventures. The judge ordered it frozen immediately to fund her husband's nursing home placement." I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for a decade. In my past life, that old woman had cried crocodile tears every single month, claiming she had only $3 in her checking account and couldn't even afford bread, guilt-tripping me into handing over my entire monthly bonus. She had money the whole time. She just preferred to watch me starve while her precious son played Prince in the city. Karma was finally knocking on their door, and it was demanding payment in full. Later that evening, Logan came over to my new apartment to help me assemble a new bookshelf. As he tightened the final brass bolts with an electric screwdriver, his phone chimed on the coffee table. He glanced at it, frowning slightly. "What is it?" I asked, wiping down the wooden shelves. "My buddy from the Municipal Patrol Unit," Logan said, looking up. He said Mrs. Turner has been calling the precinct every 3 hours, claiming that her son, Travis, is a high-level executive at a luxury hotel chain, and that he's going to sue the entire city once he gets back. I paused, a cold smile touching my lips. A luxury hotel chain? Travis was a mid-tier valet coordinator who got fired for trying to steal a client's watch. The only reason he's near a luxury hotel is because he's sleeping with the owner's daughter. Logan set the screwdriver down and walked over, leaning against the counter beside me. His gaze was steady, searching my face with quiet intensity. "Are you worried about him coming back?" he asked softly. "I used to be terrified of him," I admitted, looking down at my hands. "In my past, before all this, I thought he was powerful. I thought his charm and his rich friends made him untouchable. But now, I see him for what he really is. A coward who uses women as stepping stones and throws away his own flesh and blood." The second things get difficult. Logan reached out, his warm, callous fingers gently tucking a stray strand of hair behind my ear. The warmth of his skin sent a pleasant shiver down my spine. "If he ever comes near you again," Logan said, his voice dropping into a low, unshakable register, "he won't just have the law to answer to. He'll have to go through me." I looked up into his eyes, seeing nothing but absolute, protective devotion. For 7 years, Travis had made me feel like an disposable placeholder, someone who was lucky to receive his barest attention. But in 2 short months, Logan had shown me what it felt like to be treasured, protected, and respected. I leaned in, closing the distance between us, and pressed my lips gently against his. Logan froze for half a second before his arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me flush against his chest. The kiss was deep, slow, and full of a quiet, burning promise that washed away the last lingering ghosts of my past. 200 miles away, in a 5-star penthouse overlooking the Marina in Miami, Travis Turner was realizing that paradise was a gilded cage. Victoria Sterling, the 38-year-old heiress to a real estate empire, was currently throwing a ceramic espresso cup at his head. The porcelain shattered against the wall inches from his ear, hot liquid splattering across the silk collar of his designer shirt. "You idiot!" Victoria shrieked, pacing across the imported Italian marble floor. In her silk robe, "I told you to make sure the yacht charter was confirmed for noon. The Henderson family is flying in from London, and you couldn't even handle a single phone call?" Travis scrambled to pick up the shattered pieces, his hands trembling. "Victoria, babe, the Marina had a mechanical delay on the engines. I swear I called them." "I don't care about your excuses," she barked, looking at him with open disgust. "You're supposed to be my personal assistant and my partner, but you act like an incompetent pool boy. If you can't even manage a weekend itinerary, why the hell am I paying your platinum card bills?" Travis swallowed his humiliation, forcing a charming, subservient smile that made his jaw ache. "I'm sorry, darling. I'll drive down to the docks myself. Right now. I'll make it right. Get out of my sight." She dismissed him with a flick of her manicured hand. "And wash that shirt. You look pathetic." Travis hurried out of the penthouse, his teeth grinding together so hard he felt the enamel crack. When he had abandoned Lydia and run off with Victoria 6 months ago, he had envisioned a life of effortless luxury. Private jets, golf clubs, high society, galas where people bowed to his wealth. He had told himself that dumping his paralyzed father on Lydia was a masterstroke. Let the naive, sentimental girl play nurse while he secured the bag, and once he was officially married to Victoria, he could throw Lydia a couple $1,000s as charity to clear his conscience. Instead, Victoria treated him like a stray dog she had picked up off the street. She held all the money. She controlled his credit cards. She forced him to sign a draconian prenuptial agreement before she would even let him move into the guest suite, and she constantly reminded him that he was nothing more than a pretty face from the gutter. Every single day, Travis found himself thinking about Lydia. Lydia, who had cooked his meals from scratch, who had ironed his shirts until they were crisp, who had looked at him with starry-eyed adoration and never asked for a dime. Lydia, who had worked 2 jobs so he could buy designer suits for his networking events. As soon as Victoria signs over the title to the Miami condo, Travis told himself, every night as he lay awake in the cold guest bedroom, I'll go back. I'll buy a sports car, pull up to Lydia's apartment, and show her what a real man looks like. She'll drop to her knees and beg to take me back. He was still lost in his delusions when his phone buzzed in his pocket. It was an unknown number with a home state area code. Thinking it was one of his old fraternity brothers looking to congratulate him on his lavish lifestyle, Travis answered with his smoothest corporate tone. Travis Turner speaking. Travis. Oh God, Travis, thank God you picked up. His mother's hysterical, sobbing voice shattered through the receiver. Travis pulled the phone away in annoyance, looking around the marina parking lot. Before lowering his voice. Mom, why are you calling from a weird number? I told you never to call me during the day. If Victoria hears you. Victoria doesn't matter right now. Mrs. Turner wailed. The government froze my bank accounts. Barnaby lost his car lot. They took your father away to a state ward, and the police have an open warrant for your arrest for abandonment and fraud. Travis froze. The humid ocean breeze suddenly felt like liquid nitrogen against his skin. What? What are you talking about? He stammered. Where is Lydia? Why isn't Lydia taking care of Dad? Lydia moved away, his mother shrieked. She called the cops on Barnaby. She called the cops on me. She's dating a fire captain, Travis. She's living in a luxury apartment and laughing at us while your father is rotting in a county bed. A fire captain? Travis's brain short-circuited. The image of sweet, submissive, self-sacrificing Lydia in the arms of another man felt like a physical punch to his gut. That's impossible. Lydia loves me. She spent 4 years begging me to set a wedding date. She hates us, Travis, his mother cried. The state is coming after you for $70,000 in medical bills. If you don't send money right now, they're going to seize your assets. I don't have $70,000. Travis panicked. Victoria controls all the liquid accounts. Then ask her. I can't ask her for 70 grand for a sick father I told her died 5 years ago. Travis roared into the phone. The line went dead silent. Travis looked up and saw Victoria standing 10 feet away by the marina gate, holding a pair of designer sunglasses, her face frozen in pure, murderous fury. Your father died 5 years ago? Victoria asked, her voice dangerously quiet as she stepped forward. Travis's phone slipped from his sweat-slicked fingers, clattering against the hot pavement. Victoria, babe. Listen to me, that was just a crazy relative. Shut up, she said, pulling her phone from her Birkin bag. My private investigator told me 2 weeks ago that someone from your hometown was trying to subpoena your tax records. I thought it was just standard small-town jealousy. But you lied to me about your entire background, didn't you? No. Victoria, I swear. You told me your family owned a regional logistics firm in the Midwest, she sneered, stepping closer, her eyes flashing with venom. You told me you were an only son who sold the family equity after your parents passed away in a car crash. And all this time, you're an unemployed deadbeat who dumped a paralyzed father on his ex-fiancé to leech off my trust fund. Victoria, please. I love you. I did it because I was ashamed of my past. Travis fell to his knees on the asphalt, reaching for the hem of her designer linen trousers just like his mother had done on my floor. Victoria recoiled as if he were a sewer rat, kicking his hands away with her designer sandals. Security, she shouted toward the marina gate. 2 hulking private security guards in black polo shirts stepped forward. Instantly. Take his key card, take his phone, and have his luggage thrown onto the sidewalk outside the penthouse, Victoria instructed without sparing him another glance. And call my legal team. I want a complete audit of every dollar he charged to my secondary accounts over the last 6 months. If he spent 1 penny that wasn't strictly business related, I'm pressing grand larceny charges. Victoria, you can't do this to me. Travis screamed as the guards hoisted him to his feet by his arms, stripping his platinum watch from his wrist and fishing the luxury rental keys from his pockets. I gave up everything for you. You didn't give up anything, Travis, Victoria said coldly, sliding her sunglasses over her eyes as she turned toward the waiting yacht. You're just garbage that managed to sneak into the parlor for a few months. Now take yourself out to the curb where you belong. 3 hours later, Travis Turner was standing outside the Miami bus terminal in 90-degree heat, wearing a wrinkled linen shirt and holding a single duffel bag containing 4 days of clothes. His bank accounts were frozen, his credit cards were canceled, and he had exactly $82 in cash in his wallet. He sat on a concrete bench, his teeth grinding together in a toxic mix of humiliation, rage, and pathological delusion. It's all Lydia's fault, he told himself, staring at the gray interstate asphalt. If that bitch had just done her duty and taken care of my dad like she was supposed to, none of this would have happened. She ruined my marriage with Victoria. She ruined my life. He pulled out his cheap burner phone, opened a ticket booking website, and spent $75 of his remaining $82 on a one-way bus ticket back home. She thinks she can just replace me with some neighborhood fireman? Travis sneered, his eyes bloodshot and manic. I gave her 4 years of my youth. Everything she has belongs to me. I'll make her pay for this. Every single cent. Autumn in our hometown was breathtaking that year. The maple trees along the Riverwalk had turned a brilliant shade of crimson and gold. I had just received a major promotion at work, senior operations manager, for the entire regional division, along with a 30% salary increase. Joanne threw a small celebration party for me at an upscale rooftop lounge downtown. Logan was there, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark charcoal blazer and white button-down. As the evening wound down, Logan and I walked along the pedestrian bridge, overlooking the city skyline, the cool night breeze rustling our coats. He stopped near the center of the bridge, leaning against the iron railing, watching me with a soft, affectionate smile. What? I laughed, touching my cheek. Do I have chocolate on my face? No, Logan said, his voice dropping into that deep, warm register that always made my heart flutter. I was just thinking about how incredible you look when you're genuinely happy. I looked out over the dark, shimmering water below. In my past life, this was the exact river I had looked at from the hospital rooftop before I jumped. Back then, the world was a suffocating, gray prison of exhaustion, false accusations, and endless debt. I had believed that love was a sacrifice where one person had to bleed to keep the other warm. Now, standing beside Logan, the city was alive with brilliant golden light. I am happy, Logan, I said softly, turning to face him. Because of you. Because you showed me that real love doesn't ask you to destroy yourself. Logan reached into his inner jacket pocket. My breath caught in my throat. He pulled out a small, navy velvet box, opening it to reveal a delicate platinum ring set with a brilliant, sparkling sapphire surrounded by a halo of diamonds. Lydia, Logan said, his eyes clear, steady, and overflowing with devotion. I don't want to fix your past. I want to build your future. I want to be the man who stands beside you through every promotion, every storm, every quiet Sunday morning for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me? Tears of pure, unadulterated joy welled in my eyes. Yes, I choked out, a laugh breaking through my tears. Yes, Logan. Absolutely. Yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, a perfect fit, and pulled me into his arms, lifting me off my feet as his lips found mine under the glow of the city street lamps. We celebrated late into the night. It wasn't until the following evening that the shadow of my past finally crawled out of the gutter to find me. I was walking out of the grocery store near my apartment, carrying a bag of fresh produce and wine for dinner, when a figure stepped out from the shadows. Near the parking structure. Lydia. The voice made the hairs on my arms stand straight up. I stopped dead in my tracks, my hand instinctively tightening around my phone. Travis stood 10 feet away under the flickering sodium light of the parking lot. He looked like a ghost of the man who had abandoned me. His once immaculate hair was greasy and unkempt, his expensive linen shirt was stained at the armpits and frayed at the cuffs, and his eyes were hollow, bloodshot, and frantic. Smelled faintly of stale cigarettes and cheap whiskey. Travis, I said, my voice completely devoid of emotion as I kept my distance. You're violating a court-mandated protective order. If you take one more step toward me, I'm pressing the emergency dispatch button on my phone. Travis forced a pathetic, trembling smile, taking a tentative step forward with his hands raised. Lydia, babe, please. Don't be like that. It's me. It's your Travis. My Travis. I laughed, a cold, sharp sound that echoed across the empty concrete. My Travis was a thief who stole $15,000 from our joint account and ran off to Florida to be a rich woman's lapdog. Travis flinched as if I had slapped him across the mouth. I made a mistake, Lydia, he cried, his voice rising in desperate, manic pitches. You don't understand. Victoria tricked me. She used me. She promised she would invest in our future, and then she threw me away. I did it for us. Lydia, I wanted to get enough money so you and I could buy a house in the suburbs and live like royalty. Stop lying, Travis, I said, my voice dripping with disgust. You didn't do anything for me. You dumped your paralyzed father at my doorstep like a bag of garbage, told your uncle to extort me, and left me to drown while you partied in Miami. My father is old. He was going to die anyway. Travis shouted, the ugly, narcissistic core of his personality finally breaking through his fake remorse. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? You were supposed to wait for me. We were engaged for 4 years. You owed me loyalty. I owed you nothing. I took a step back, holding my phone high so the screen was visible. The engagement ended the second you walked out that door. And as for your father, the state is currently auctioning off your mother's assets and garnishing your uncle's business to pay for his medical care. You're facing felony abandonment charges, Travis. The police have been looking for you for 2 months. Travis's eyes widened in sheer, unadulterated panic. Then, his gaze dropped to my left hand. Under the harsh fluorescent light, the sapphire engagement ring caught the beam, sparkling with brilliant, undeniable fire. Travis's jaw dropped. His face turned from pale gray to a violent mottled crimson. What is that? He whispered, his voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and venomous rage. What is that on your finger? I'm getting married, I said clearly. Married? Travis roared, lunging forward, his hands clawing toward my arm. You're getting married to that damn fireman. You used my money to buy yourself a new life. You were supposed to be suffering. You were supposed to be waiting for me to come home. Before his fingers could even graze the sleeve of my coat, a powerful hand gripped Travis by the back of his collar, wrenching him backward with such violent force that his feet left the ground. Travis slammed hard onto the asphalt with a breathless groan. Logan stepped between us, tall, imposing, and radiating an aura of lethal, controlled fury. He didn't yell. He didn't draw a weapon. He simply planted his heavy boot on Travis's chest, pinning him to the cold pavement like an insect beneath a heel. Travis Turner, Logan said, his voice as steady and cold as granite. You have 5 seconds to keep your mouth shut before I break your ribs for violating a judicial restraining order. Travis looked up at Logan, at the sheer physical disparity, the broad shoulders, the cold, unyielding authority in Logan's eyes, and the last shred of his pathetic bravado evaporated into whimpering terror. I'm leaving. I'm leaving, man, please don't hit me. Travis sobbed, covering his face with his forearms. Officer, Logan said without looking away, pulling his radio from his utility belt. This is Captain Miller. I have a fugitive with an active felony warrant. Detained at the North Plaza lot. Send 2 patrol units for transport. The trial of the Turner family was the biggest scandal our county had seen in years. Because of the extensive documentation I provided, including bank records, audio, recordings of Barnaby's threats, security footage from the apartment and corporate lobby, and Travis's signed abandonment note, the district attorney threw the book at all 3 of them. The courtroom on the day of sentencing was packed with local reporters and former neighbors. Mrs. Turner sat at the defense table, looking 20 years older, her dyed hair showing 2 inches of gray roots, her designer clothes replaced by a drab gray county jumpsuit. Beside her, Barnaby sat with his head in his hands, completely ruined after the state shuttered his fraudulent car dealership. And between them sat Travis. He had no expensive suits left. His hands were cuffed to his waist, his eyes dark and sunken, staring at the polished wooden desk in front of him. Judge Harrison, a no-nonsense woman with a reputation for mercilessly punishing domestic fraudsters, slammed her gavel down to open the proceedings. In my 30 years on the bench, Judge Harrison stated, her voice ringing off the high oak ceilings, I have rarely seen a more abhorrent display of collective moral bankruptcy. She turned her gaze toward Travis. Mr. Turner, you deliberately abandoned a vulnerable, medically fragile parent. In an attempt to extort a former partner, fled the jurisdiction under false pretenses, and engaged in systematic financial fraud. Your actions resulted in near-fatal medical neglect. Travis tried to speak, his voice hoarse. Your Honor, I was confused. I was trying to secure funding. Silence, the judge snapped. You are hereby sentenced to 5 years in the State Correctional Facility for felony elder abandonment, grand larceny, and criminal extortion, with no possibility of early parole until 85% of your sentence is served. Furthermore, an order of restitution in the amount of $82,000 is entered against you, payable directly To the State Department of Health and Human Services. Mrs. Turner let out a shrill, hysterical wail, collapsing against the table. As for you, Margaret Turner, the judge continued coldly, for your role as an accessory to fraud, obstruction of justice, and felony harassment, you are sentenced to 2 years in county custody, followed by 3 years of strict probation. Barnaby Turner, 18 months for criminal coercion and commercial fraud. Bang! The gavel struck the sound block with a final, definitive crack that echoed like a gunshot. As the bailiff stepped forward to lead the 3 of them away in chains, Travis twisted around in his restraints, his bloodshot eyes desperately searching the gallery until they landed on me. I was sitting in the front row, wearing an elegant cream wool coat, my hand firmly intertwined with Logan's. Lydia! Travis screamed, tears streaming down his face as the guards hauled him toward the holding cells. Lydia, please. Tell them you forgive me. If you drop the civil suit, they'll reduce the sentence. Lydia, I loved you. You know I loved you. I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. I looked straight into the eyes of the man who had driven me to jump off a rooftop in another lifetime, and I felt nothing. No cicatriz. No lingering pain. No bitter desire for further revenge. Just the clean, absolute indifference of a woman looking at a ghost that had finally been laid to rest. I slowly turned my head away, leaned my shoulder against Logan's arm, and smiled. As we stood up to leave the courtroom, behind us, the heavy metal security doors slammed shut with a final mechanical clack, locking the Turners in the dark where they belonged. 1 year later, the summer sun blazed in a cloudless blue sky over the botanical gardens at the edge of the city. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming white roses, lavender, and fresh pine. Soft violin music drifted through the open-air pavilion where 200 guests, friends, colleagues, firefighters from Logan's station, and my family sat on white wooden chairs adorned with silk ribbons. Joanne stood beside me in an emerald green bridesmaid dress, adjusting the lace veil that cascaded down the back of my ivory silk gown. You look breathtaking, Lydia, Joanne whispered, her eyes shining with happy tears. Seriously, you look like a queen. Thank you, Joanne. I smiled, looking at myself in the full-length mirror. The woman in the glass didn't look anything like the hollow, exhausted, trembling girl who had spent 10 years cleaning bedpans and taking verbal abuse in a dark apartment. Her skin was glowing, her posture was tall and proud, and her eyes were filled with a radiant, unshakable peace. The wedding coordinator poked her head into the bridal suite with a bright grin. 2 minutes, Lydia. Groom is at the altar, and he looks like he's about to explode with excitement. I took a deep, steadying breath, picked up my bouquet of white lilies and blue hydrangeas, and stepped out into the sunlit garden. As the music swelled into the bridal march, the entire congregation rose to their feet. I walked down the stone path, my arm linked with my father's, my eyes locked entirely onto the man standing beneath the floral arch at the end of the aisle. Logan wore his formal dress uniform, his medals catching the afternoon light, his broad shoulders squared and proud. But it was his face that made my heart melt. His eyes were glistening with unshed tears, looking at me with an expression of pure, breathless reverence, as if I were the only person in the entire universe. When my father placed my hand in his, Logan's fingers closed around mine with that familiar, warm, protective strength that had become my anchor. Hi, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Hi, I whispered back, my smile radiant. The ceremony was short, beautiful, and filled with genuine laughter. When it came time for our vows, Logan held both my hands in his, looking straight into my eyes without looking at his prepared card. Lydia, Logan said, his voice carrying clearly across the quiet gardens. From the moment I met you, I saw a woman of extraordinary courage, grace, and strength. You have survived storms that would have broken anyone else, and you came out shining brighter than gold. I promise to be your shelter when it rains, your partner in every joy, and the man who loves and honors you with every breath I take, for all the days of our lives. Tears spilled over my lashes as I squeezed his hands tightly. Logan, I said, my voice steady and full of unreserved devotion. You taught me that love isn't a debt to be paid, it's a gift to be shared. You gave me safety when I had only known fear, and you gave me a future when I thought my life was over. Today, I give you my whole heart, freely and without fear forever. By the power vested in me, the officiant smiled broadly, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Logan, you may kiss your bride. Logan didn't hesitate. He wrapped his strong arms around my waist, lifted me slightly off the ground, and brought his lips down on mine in a deep, passionate kiss that made the entire garden erupt into thunderous applause and joyous cheers. Late that evening, after the reception had wound down and the last of our guests had departed with sparklers in their hands, Logan and I went up to the rooftop terrace of the boutique hotel, where we were spending our wedding night. The city stretched out beneath us in a vast, glittering carpet of golden lights. The night air was warm, carrying a gentle summer breeze that ruffled the hem of my silk reception dress. Logan stood behind me, his arms wrapped securely around my waist, his chin resting gently on the crown of my head. I looked out over the skyline, my gaze drifting toward the distant silhouette of the river where, in another life, my story had ended in cold despair. In that past life, I had believed that sacrifice was noble, even when it destroyed my soul. I had let parasites feast on my kindness because I was terrified of being called selfish. But God had given me a second chance, and I had learned the most important truth of all. True goodness does not mean letting bad people walk all over you. Real strength is having the courage to throw the trash out of your life so you can make room for the light. Down below, the city continued to move, indifferent and vast. Somewhere across the state, behind heavy concrete walls and barbed wire, Travis Turner was wearing a numbered jumpsuit, cleaning prison floors under the glare of fluorescent lights, living with the permanent, agonizing realization of what he had thrown away. And here, high above the world, wrapped in the arms of a good, honorable man who loved me more than life itself, my real life was just beginning. Logan tightened his embrace, pressing a soft, lingering kiss against my temple. "What are you thinking about, Mrs. Miller?" he murmured softly into the night. I smiled, turning in his arms to look up into his warm, loving eyes, feeling the steady, rhythmic beat of his heart against my chest. "I was thinking," I whispered, reaching up to gently cup his cheek, "that the view from up here is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Logan smiled, his eyes reflecting the starlight as he leaned down to kiss me. Once more under the wide, endless, beautiful sky,